Silent Architects. Who built the megaliths before us? Chapter 1. Echoes without voices. The ancient world speaks to us, but not through words, or scriptures, or the bones of its architects. It speaks through stone. In the remotest corners of Earth, we find structures that defy time and explanation. Perfectly cut megaliths weighing hundreds of tons, moved and fitted together with an artistry lost to history. Yet when we search for the builders, we find nothing. No skeletal remains of a master civilization. No written chronicles. No temples preserving names. Only the stones, massive, eternal, and silent. This absence of human fingerprints has led some to wonder, were these monuments left behind by a forgotten branch of humanity, a lost people with unknown skills, or something even older, even stranger? As we embark on this journey, we will trace these impossible creations across the world and confront the eerie possibility that we are not the first civilization to rise on Earth, not the first to wonder, not the first to forget, not the first to vanish. The stones alone remember. Chapter 2. The Stones That Shouldn't Exist. Throughout history, conventional archaeology has insisted that early civilizations lacked the tools, techniques, or manpower to manipulate stones of enormous size. Yet scattered across the world are megaliths that seem to mock that assumption. Stones weighing 800 tons moved miles uphill. Blocks fitted so tightly that a human hair cannot pass between them. Monoliths shaped with a precision that even modern engineers struggle to replicate. At Baalbek in Lebanon, the stone of the pregnant woman lies abandoned in its quarry. A single carved block estimated to weigh over 1,000 tons. No record explains how it was cut, shaped, or meant to be moved. At Nan Madol in Micronesia, thousands of basalt stones, each weighing several tons, were transported across open water to build a sprawling complex atop an artificial lagoon. And on Easter Island, the iconic Moai statues, some towering over 30 feet tall and weighing 80 tons, were carved, moved, and erected with methods that remain a mystery. The simple question remains, how? But an even more haunting question lurks just behind it. Who? Because the deeper we study these sites, the more the evidence suggests that whoever built them did not leave behind the tools or signs we would expect. Almost as if they were never meant to be found. Chapter 3. The Absence of Tools. One of the most baffling puzzles surrounding these megaliths is not just their size, but the eerie lack of appropriate tools found nearby. No copper chisels strong enough to cut basalt. No primitive cranes or pulleys capable of moving multi-ton stones across rough landscapes. No ancient blueprints or manuals explaining the engineering methods. Just the stones themselves, silent and immovable. At Baalbek, massive stones sit fitted with microscopic precision. Yet no iron tools, no cranes, no machinery parts have ever been found beneath the dust. At Nan Madol, no boats, no transport platforms, no ramps or lifting devices have been uncovered. Only the basalt walls, stacked as if by invisible hands. And on Easter Island, legends say the statues walked into place. A myth modern historians dismiss but cannot entirely explain. If ancient peoples did possess sophisticated methods, why did they leave no evidence behind? Or was it because the builders were never part of the societies we know at all? Was their technology simply not what we imagine? Something radically different, something lost to time? Or perhaps never human to begin with? Chapter 4. Legends of the First Builders. Across every culture that hosts these ancient megaliths, the stories of their origin tell a remarkably similar tale. The builders were not ordinary humans. In Polynesian tradition, the Moai were said to have been moved by magical chants or spiritual forces, mana, not by brute strength. At Nan Madol, local legends tell of twin sorcerers who used levitation to fly the basalt columns into place, summoning impossible architecture from the ocean itself. In Lebanon, ancient stories whispered that the foundations of Baalbek were laid by giants in an age before recorded time, beings of immense power, lost long before modern humanity ever arose. These legends are usually dismissed as mere myth. But myths are rarely born from nothing. They are echoes, distorted memories passed down across generations. Perhaps, hidden within these ancient tales, lies a fragment of forgotten truth. That long before history began, Earth was already a stage for beings and civilizations we no longer remember, and the stones are their final signature. Chapter 5. The Missing Civilizations. Normally, the rise of monumental architecture signals the existence of a thriving civilization. Cities, agriculture, metallurgy, art, governance. But around the greatest megaliths, we find none of these signs. No sprawling cities around Baalbek. No written language or permanent villages near the original Moai on Easter Island. No evidence of an empire ruling from Nan Madol. It's as if the builders appeared, constructed their impossibly massive works, and vanished without a trace. In every case, the people living near these sites when they were rediscovered claimed no direct link to the builders. They inherited the ruins, puzzled, just like we are. Mainstream archaeology proposes slow, painful construction by simple societies, but the sheer technical mastery suggests something else. An advanced culture operating at the edge of human memory, wiped clean by time. Not simply forgotten, but missing, as if a whole chapter of Earth's story has been torn out. And the only remaining witnesses are the stones themselves enduring the silence. Chapter 6. Whispers of an Older Earth. Traditional history tells us civilization began around 6,000 years ago, with farming, writing, and organized cities blossoming in Mesopotamia. But the megaliths whisper a different story, a story of a much older Earth, shaped by hands, or forces, we no longer remember. Some megalithic sites appear weathered far beyond their supposed age. At Baalbek, erosion marks suggest the stones could predate the Phoenicians by millennia. At Easter Island, some Moai found buried to their shoulders hint at extreme geological shifts over untold centuries. Nan Madol's foundations, sinking into the lagoon, imply a construction date long before recorded Polynesian migration. New discoveries, forbidden by mainstream timelines, suggest humanity may have risen and fallen multiple times, each cycle building wonders, only to be erased by cataclysm, by nature, or by forces unknown. The stones endure because they are the only record left when the seas rise, when the earth shakes, when memory fades. They are the last remnants of a forgotten Earth, older, stranger, and far more complex than we dare to imagine. Chapter 7. Visitors from the Distant Past. If human civilization as we know it could not have built these megaliths, another possibility emerges, one that has haunted scholars, mystics, and storytellers for centuries. The builders were not entirely human at all. Ancient texts across cultures hint at visitors from the stars, luminous beings, winged gods, teachers descending from the heavens. The Dogon people of Mali speak of amphibious beings from the Sirius system, thousands of years before telescopes could even verify Sirius's twin stars. South American legends tell of Viracocha, a tall, pale, godlike being who taught humanity the arts of civilization before disappearing into the Pacific. In Polynesian myth, powerful spirit beings arrived long before the Polynesians themselves, erecting the mighty Moai. Were these myths distorted memories of real contact with a non-human intelligence, an ancient encounter now lost to time? Perhaps the megaliths are not simply monuments. Perhaps they are messages, silent, enduring, waiting for minds advanced enough to understand them. Chapter 8. The Global Fingerprint. When we look across the world, from the Pacific to the Middle East to the Atlantic, a pattern emerges. The same methods, the same impossible precision, the same mysterious absence of builders. Massive stone blocks placed with microscopic tolerance. Astounding alignments to stars, solstices, and planetary cycles. Sacred geometry encoded in structures separated by oceans and thousands of years. It is as if the megaliths form a kind of global fingerprint, left by a civilization or intelligence that operated across the entire planet, or perhaps even above it. But how? Without airplanes, without modern navigation, how could similar techniques appear in places supposedly isolated from each other? Mainstream explanations collapse under the weight of the evidence. Coincidence seems ever more unlikely. A deeper truth looms, that a unified hand, or influence, shaped the early world. Whether human, pre-human, or non-human, the architects of the megaliths left a signature so vast, so subtle, that only now, millennia later, can we begin to trace its outline. Chapter 9. The Vanishing. If a powerful global civilization, or presence, once roamed the earth, building with impossible skill, then where did they go? No collapse has been recorded, no burial sites, no artifacts beyond the stones themselves. Just absence. A sudden silence. Some theories suggest cataclysm, global floods, meteor impacts, solar events that wiped the slate clean. Others believe they left willingly, departing Earth once their purpose was complete. There are ancient flood myths from every corner of the world. The Sumerian tale of Ziusudra, the biblical story of Noah, indigenous stories from the Andes, Polynesia, and even Aboriginal Australia. Each speaks of a world-ending event, and of knowledge lost. Perhaps the architects saw it coming. Perhaps they vanished into the sea, or into the sky, or into another layer of reality entirely. Whatever the truth, they left behind only what could not be erased. Stone. And that silence may be the loudest message of all. Chapter 10. Echoes in Stone. Though the silent architects themselves may be gone, subtle traces of their presence remain, encoded in the very stones they left behind. Megalithic sites around the world seem to whisper through their architecture, hidden star maps, geometric ratios beyond the understanding of ancient societies, mysterious acoustic properties where sound behaves in strange, amplified ways. At Nan Madol, certain chambers resonate at specific frequencies, as if tuned to invisible energies. At Baalbek, the placement of the stones seems to create subtle magnetic anomalies, barely detectable by modern instruments. And on Easter Island, researchers have found that the Moai statues all face inward, toward a central, forgotten point of significance. These are not random relics. They are messages, encoded in weight, geometry, and silence. Perhaps the stones were not merely meant to survive time. Perhaps they were meant to speak across it, not to the civilizations that immediately followed, but to a distant future mind, one advanced enough, curious enough, to listen. Are we that mind? Or are we simply the latest in a long line to stumble across the echoes and wonder? Chapter 11. Decoding the Message. What if the megaliths are more than monuments, more than tombs, temples, or shrines? What if they are transmissions, encoded in mass, angle, and alignment, meant to speak across thousands of years? Throughout the ancient world, similar symbols emerge again and again. Spirals, serpents, stars, interlocking geometries. These symbols are carved into stone not as decoration, but as data, a visual language that transcends words. Some researchers believe that the layout of these sites forms harmonic structures, capable of interacting with Earth's magnetic field or even amplifying consciousness. Others see in their design a kind of warning system, markers of past catastrophes, aligned with astronomical cycles that repeat. And a few go further still, suggesting that the stones are a cosmic breadcrumb trail laid for us to follow as we awaken to something larger than ourselves. Could the message be simple? We were here. We endured. So can you. Or is it something far more complex? A forgotten code awaiting reactivation? If the message exists, then it's not written in ink or sound. It's written in stone. Chapter 12. Guardians of Memory. Across the world's ruins, a hidden purpose slowly reveals itself. The silent architects may not have built merely for power, prestige, or survival. They may have built to preserve memory itself. In a world vulnerable to floods, fires, wars, and forgetting, only stone can endure across millennia. Not paper, not wood, not even metal. Stone alone resists time. Perhaps the megaliths were intended as anchors, securing fragments of knowledge, cosmology, and history against inevitable collapse. A library without books, a message without language. At Baalbek, the impossible stones suggest a mastery of force we can barely comprehend. At Nan Madol, the entire floating city could represent a cosmic map, a recreation of a higher world. On Easter Island, the Moai are not merely statues. They are guardians, watching over a lost legacy. Each site acts as a node in a larger network of memory, built to last through dark ages, disasters, and even extinction. Perhaps the architects knew that civilizations rise and fall, but the stones remember. Chapter 13. The Awakening Pattern. What if the megaliths weren't just meant to endure the past, but to activate in the future? Some researchers believe that the megalithic network across Earth was constructed not only as a record, but as a signal, triggered only when humanity reached a certain stage of awareness. Only now, with global communication, satellite imaging, and advanced physics, are we beginning to see the full pattern. Sites once considered isolated now form geometric alignments across continents. Ancient structures line up with the equator as it existed 12,000 years ago. It's as if they were built in anticipation of a time when we could finally see the whole board. But why? What happens when the pattern is fully seen? Does it unlock a memory embedded in our DNA? A dormant technology hidden in stone? Or is it a warning? A countdown to something that already happened once, and may come again? The more we uncover, the more it seems the architects did not leave the stones for the past. They left them for us, now. Chapter 14. Watchers Beyond Time. Throughout history, stories have persisted of watchers, beings who do not interfere, but observe. In myths, they appear as sky gods, shining ones, or pale visitors who arrive in times of change and disappear just as quickly. But what if these legends were not fantasy? What if the silent architects never truly left, but exist outside of our time, waiting to return when their message is heard? Strange sightings have been reported at ancient sites for centuries. Lights in the sky above Baalbek, apparitions at stone circles in Britain, electrical disturbances near Nan Madol. Modern instruments have occasionally recorded gravitational fluctuations, spikes in magnetism, and strange harmonics at these megalithic sites, almost as if they are being monitored. Perhaps the architects left more than memory and message. Perhaps they left a link. And when the pattern is completed and the memory fully decoded, they may respond. Not as gods, not as aliens, but as architects, returning to examine the world they once helped build. Are we ready to meet them? Or have they been among us all along, hidden in the crowd, silent, like their stones? Chapter 15. The Silent Invitation. The stones endure, the patterns persist, The questions deepen. Across oceans, across centuries, the work of the silent architects still calls to us. Not in words, but in presence. Their monuments stand untouched by time, indifferent to empire and erosion. Their alignments whisper to the stars, awaiting a mind willing to listen. Their memory hums through Earth's magnetic heartbeat, waiting to be reawakened. Maybe the architects were ancient humans. Maybe they were something more. Maybe they are us, forgotten versions of ourselves from an age beyond history. Or maybe they are still here, not as rulers or conquerors, but as invitation makers, waiting for us to mature, to remember, and to step into a much older, deeper conversation. The stones are not monuments to the dead. They are open doors. The question is not who built them. The real question is, will we answer?